And thank you for joining us for our final segment. It's going to be a banger. We have with us from Graphix Photography, we have Melvin Diego, who's a photographer, professional one too.
Yes.
And we have Aria Hylton, who's an assistant photographer.
Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning.
Now, let's talk a little bit, Melvin, I know you've been into photography for quite some time. How did your company come about?
Well, basically, from ever since I've known myself, you know, I've liked photography. Yeah, but I never really found the passion until later on, about 10 years ago. Growing up, I remember we grew up close to our airstrip in Dangregatong, and we used to always see tourists pass by, and my siblings and I, we used to run after them, and I always say, take my picture, white man. And for me, I used to always lust after the camera, right? And after primary school, I remember owning my first camera, one of those disposable cameras. I don't know, like about 25.
Or the ones you have to
with dials, and then off a change and stuff like that. Yeah, so basically, I've been around a lot of photographers growing up as well. I always wanted to be among photographers to learn more about the photography game. And I used to back camera bags, and I used to do anything just to be around them, you know. Like around this time, after graduation, we would be issuing out pictures, and I used to do that in hats on hat and just go everywhere, like people's houses, different things like that.
What do you think, because I mean, a lot of people don't look at it for what it is. For me, it's art. Mm-hmm. I get to see the world through the way that you frame it. Mm-hmm. But what is your distinctive, what sets you apart from other photographers, other professional photographers? What is your specific style?
Yeah, well, my specific style, I know there is a lot of rules of photography, right? But for me, I see it as art as well, right? Growing up, I always like arts at the same time. So for me, people, some of my photographers' friends would say, you cut a hand or you cut a foot there, right? In photography, right? Or the horizon, the lean a little bit. But sometimes, I always have a twist to my camera in my pictures, you know, and I'm not scared.
Why do you have that twist?
Because I love standing out in a sense of way, and I love arts, and I always want to shift, something to look different, right?
Yeah, some beautiful shots you have up there.
Oh, yeah.
And Aria, what made you want to become an assistant?
Well, because I love arts as well, and as you can see through picture, it's like you can create, just let your imagination run through nature. As you can see, he's an outdoor photographer. He likes the nature, and through a picture it tells a story then to say. So it's very fun and it's very interesting. With him, I have learned, like what he has taught me every time, is that there's nothing in a picture that you cannot control. Correct. Everything you have control to. You just have to set the people the right way and have the
You can't say somebody who's jumping though. Somebody who's jumping, you can't, there's no way you can set that person.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, you just have to be
be yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I like the fact that Aria was saying that you're an outdoors photographer, because a lot of people prefer studio. You can control the lighting, you can control so many other factors. What is the challenge that you particularly like with being outdoors?
Well, first of all, with photography, lighting is very important, and you know, there is always a challenge when it comes to like this. For this photo, for example, it was a gloomy day, but at the same time, it's the people, actually the people, just to capture the emotions. So and personality inside of all of these background and sceneries.
You know, you're talking about the importance of lighting, which is probably one of the most important things. But the second important thing is framing, what you have in the background, where is it off center. Could you talk to us a little bit about, because one of the things I like about you coming in today is you are assuming that you are taking the photos yourself. And so these are tips that you're going to share with the public, which is admirable, because I know you'd prefer to come in and make you take the picture, yeah. But you can't be everywhere. Talk to us a little bit about framing and being attentive to what is in your shot. Yeah,
well, most of the time for me, I always look at the foreground and the background, but mostly the background is okay, but then I always pay attention in what is in front of the camera, you know, because I know that that's one of your main subject.
Isn't everything in front of the camera though?
No. But at the same time, you have to remember, like taking pictures, you have to keep in mind of what is in the surrounding that would make the not really like make the picture off. Like let's say you're taking a picture and a lot of trash in the background and you don't want that so you have to be conscious of always be conscious of what is in the background as well.
Sometimes people have stuff in their hand, you know, that would just so you just have
distract
to be
from the
vigilant at all times.
Yeah.
No. So you were referring just now to playing with the front and back focus or medium depth of photography. How much of that is something that you play with? A lot of people shoot now because cameras are so smart on automatic mode.
Portrait.
But you know, how do you shoot manually and do you play with your
with that? Yes, definitely. I shoot. The M on the camera is for masculine, manly, right? So, a few years ago, I can mention one of my photographers, friend Dirk Francisco. I've been shooting with these guys who have learned photography from where you grew up. They used to shoot pictures in automatic. You know, and I remember when I got my first DSLR, I was still shooting pictures in automatic, and I met this guy, you know, and he came and he just turned it and said, start to take pictures in manual and start to learn from there. Because I believe that automatic was the right way of taking it.
I thought the M stood for mistakes, that you're more likely to make a mistake, because you can be all focused on the light, no?
Yeah.
Now, in photography now, in terms of the genuineness of the photo, in the old days you couldn't manipulate a photo except for the lighting.
Yes.
Now there's a thing called Photoshop.
Yeah.
How much do you embrace the Photoshop aspect of it, or are you a purist that says, okay, well, I won't necessarily take off a blemish or take off because they're all character building? What is your view in terms of things like that, imperfections?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to photography, and I've tried to teach myself to learn the old way of photography, because it's you're more disciplined, right? Because when you go out with one of those camera that is not digital cameras, right? It used to, you know, you need to focus on that picture and you need to capture this picture. I remember that, you know, only like 10 films you have, and you don't have a lot to play around with. So I always keep in mind that this is the old days, I'm using an old camera, so I only have one shot, so I need to perfect this shot, right? Yeah. So I like that question.
No. And with filters, because a lot of people play around with filters, you know, and on your phone, you know, you have built-in filters, but how do you manage with filters?
Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of, most photographers, not a fan of Snapchat, because they have a lot of filters and stuff like that. For me, I believe that the more natural the pictures and the more you can, when you look at a picture, it's like it's more natural when you see the way how somebody sees it with their eyes. And that's the way how camera companies are going. They're trying to create cameras so that you can, when you look at a image, it looks like you feel like you're there.
But I thought it was the opposite. I thought a lot of people have an idea. It's like for women, they want to have that Halle Berry look, that Kim Kardashian. So they want to have perfect skin and perfect hair and all, everything just, glistening.
I get that a lot with my customers as well too. But then again, I'm more of that natural photographer. I want to capture the naturalness of like what you're explaining. I would take off, once once I would do it. Like take off some bump, take off that paper, or something like that.
Well,
I don't mind doing it because I also got in Photoshop as well too.
Yeah. What do you like photographing the most? People, scenes, because I've seen you have some aerial shots there. You have a variety. You look like you're very versatile in what you do. But what is your favorite?
For me, I like capturing people. I love nature. As I'm an adventurous person, I always out there. You will find me alone in the jungle, in the forest in Belize, and but then I love taking pictures of people.
Yeah, you are the official photographers for KTV.
Yes.
What challenges do you have in terms of, and what tips can you give us in terms of movement? Because a camera, it's difficult. Sometimes you get blurs. Sometimes you completely miss a shot. Do you have any tips in terms of, or any suggestions as to what you can do?
What Kevin wants to ask, I was joking with him earlier, is how can he get the perfect selfie?
Before I get to the perfect selfie, just motion and movement, because not all your subjects will be standing still. If you're taking photos maybe of an animal, let's say this summer you take your kids out and you have you're looking at an animal that's moving. How do you move your camera? What can I do with because most people will be taking pictures not with an actual camera. They'll be using their cell phones. That's the new norm. So what can I do to get good photos of people moving?
With a cell phone?
With a cell phone.
I think some of these cell phones come with the burst features.
Okay.
Or you can also download one of those apps where you can also manipulate the lighting and like the ISO. Sorry, probably you will not understand this terminology, but it would be good to do it in a
burst mode.
Yeah,
so you have multiple attempts at it.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, awesome. What makes a good shot?
What makes a good shot?
Yes. Apart from the fact that when you post it, you get 2,000 likes. What will guarantee me that I'm going to get 2,000 likes on a photo?
Well, I think the face expression.
Facial expression.
Yeah, facial expression. Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about people, do you stage positions, or do you try to let them just be themselves naturally?
Yeah, some people always come to me and say, "You're the professional composer." You're the composer, right? Yeah, so I always help, but then my thing is I would always like for them to be themselves. I would set up the background because I know what I'm looking at and I know what I want to capture, but then I always want the people to be themselves in that scenery.
Do you prefer the candid shots?
Yes.
When people aren't looking and really not.
What would I call off guard?
It's off guard?
Yeah. Of course, that's my most. That's what I love the most.
But I've been told you have a couple tips for us. You want to share with us those tips for taking good photos?
Okay. First of all, when you're talking about your cell phone, right? First of all, sometimes people always come to me at wedding and different events. Yeah, can you please use? They give me their phone and say, "Can you please take a picture with my phone?" And I always tell them, "Sorry, I'm not a phone photographer." And then so they cut their eyes there, right? But basically, when it comes to photography, any camera device can work for photography. You know, so a cell phone can also work for photography. But the most important thing is the lighting. Right? Without lighting, there is no photography. Right? So, yeah.
So like night shots, when you're talking about lighting, night shots would be impossible then if you don't have the proper device.
Yes, definitely, if you don't have the proper device.
What can I do in those circumstances though? Where I'm at a graduation
or if you're at a graduation.
Or I'm at KTV and I want to get the shot before I get your official one. You know, what do I do?
Well, basically, it depends on the depth as well, to how close you want that picture, how far you're taking that picture, right? And depends on what you're looking at and what you want to take. So if you're at a far distance, if somebody at a far distance and you want to take a picture with that person with your cell phone, I don't think so it's going to look good. Yeah.
I like the fact that you're talking about lighting, because one of the things that people like to do is, you know, take against a beautiful background. So how do you teach people whether the background has too much lighting, and you know, you take the picture and everybody, we're darker skinned people and everybody looks completely, you know, black.
Yeah.
So how do you, what advice you give to people when they want to capture a background and someone in the foreground?
Okay, well, first of all, on a plain background, it would always, you should always ask the person to step off the background a few steps. And before I forget, I have to mention that, you know, your clothing and what you have on, you know, it plays a very important role. So if you're a dark person, like this picture with these girls, you know, they have on white, and these are dark-skinned girls. And so it's very important to, when you're thinking about taking a picture, also, you know, so that the...
And where do you want the light, the source light to come from? Do you want it behind the person, beside? Where would you prefer it to be coming from?
Yeah, it always good for the light to be coming from above. Right?
From above in the front?
Yeah, from above in the front. And it also depends on what you want to do too. If it's an art type of photography you're doing, then probably, you know, it's good to also stand, like if you're on a veranda and you're in shade, it's good to stand on the veranda so that the light that is coming in could be soft and nice.
So you want to stand in the shade to take it?
Yeah, that could work. But then there's also these features in phone that they call bracketing. It's in professional photography cameras, the DSLRs. But then you can also download it on your phones. It's basically multiple exposures. So like you know that there's this harsh background in light, and then maybe you're sitting down in your sofa and you want to take a picture outside, but then you want some sort of object
in the shade
to be seen. So basically you use this feature to basically capture multiple exposures, the dark, the light, but you need Photoshop to blend these photos together. Yeah.
In a lot of the photos, I've noticed that you have contrast. Like the one, you had a beautiful lady who was there was an industrial, like rustic background. Then you had just another beautiful photo of another very beautiful. Your choice of models is superb. Standing in front of an old tree, and you could see all of the texture in the tree. Is that something that you do regularly? And even in this one, you can see the contrast between, you know, this very powerful car and this young lady who seems to be enjoying herself. How do you choose the contrast?
Well, basically, that's my style from ever since. I always think about these tropical type of pictures because we're in the Caribbean as well, and you know, I also coming back to what make my picture distinct. I think so. Adding those stuff adds to it as well too.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin was asking earlier about photoshopping, etc. How much of it is post-production work for you, or is it captured primarily in the field?
Mostly in the field, but then my DSLR cameras, I usually take raw images. So when I go home, I put back in the colors and try to balance the colors. So I do use what they call Lightroom, right? And I use Photoshop sometimes as well too, but mostly Lightroom. And so people always want the picture right away, but then I don't take pictures, I develop pictures. So I would go home and then I would manipulate it. So I would say at least 40%.
Now, the truth is that I would say 98% of the way we take photos now is on our own phones. I went to a graduation where in my day you used to line up and wait for Mr. Vastel Vernon to put you in front of that 94 brick, and you stand there with all your family and do it. Now it's a thing where everybody's using their cell phones. Is the professional cameraman at risk in any way? What's the difference between getting a professional and me getting my iPhone XS in portrait mode and just shooting the breeze?
Well, it depends. It depends on how you look at your business as a photographer and what all you do. Because if it depends on graduations and all of these things alone, then they have weddings and stuff like that, but somebody would want professional pictures at their wedding. But then if you're talking about graduations and stuff, then there's some
still a market for it.
Yeah, there's yeah.
Okay.
Well, tonight, anything that people can look, how do people see the photos that you'll take tonight? I know part of it will be on the KTV, Facebook, etc.
Yeah, so it would be good for people to come well prepared. Yeah,
Just the part.
Right? Yeah, because we're going to be taking off-guard pictures.
Yeah.
Right. But then we're also going to be looking at. We're going to be choosing the iconic photos so that people can caption on social media. So we're going to post that on the KTV page, and then people are going to caption. So that's going to be a feature.
Nice.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning,
Okay.
Melvin and Aria. And of course, we look forward to seeing you tonight and those photographs that you'll take.
Have you told us how to get in contact with you outside of KTV, the remix?
Okay. I have my website, graphixphotography.com. And I also have my phone numbers, 614-8061.
Nice. All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll leave for a quick wrap.